I'm not going to lie, I am more excited for this list than I have been for a lot of other lists recently. This list, of course, being the top 10 quarterbacks from the past week of college football for the 2025 NFL Draft. And you didn't know what this past weekend was in college football. We just finished week 11, which is insanely sad that we are getting this much closer to the end of the season. I really do not like it. But in the same breath, I also do kind of like it because that means we're getting closer and closer to the NFL Draft, which is the greatest time of the year. You know what? I shouldn't say that. I got to be careful when I say that because it's not the greatest time of the year. The greatest time of the year is when you watch your favorite team play a game, except in the playoffs when they play the Chiefs and they inevitably lose. Then it's not the most fun. Then you can't wait for the NFL Draft. But the NFL Draft this year is one of the more interesting drafts in recent years because no one really knows what the quarterback position is going to look like. And we've talked about this ad nauseum up to this point in the season about which quarterbacks could go where, which quarterbacks could go in the top 5, top 10, top 20, and all those different places. Which teams could need quarterbacks? Are there enough teams that actually need/want quarterbacks going into this draft, or will they make moves elsewhere? Like, you got quarterbacks that could be on the move this offseason, like Sam Darnold. Lord knows where he's going to play this year. I mean, the Vikings drafted J.J. McCarthy 10th overall and signed Sam Darnold to a one-year deal. I highly doubt, I could be wrong though, I highly doubt that the Minnesota Vikings further extend Sam Darnold past this season because they've got to see what they have in J.J. McCarthy. Thankfully for them, they didn't move heaven and earth to go up and get him, so there's not a ton riding on it, like, the 49ers drafting Trey Lance, trading up from 12 to 3, like that kind of situation. Now, they got lucky because they landed with Brock Purdy with the last pick in the frickin' draft, so they don't get as much shit as what they probably should for how they developed Trey Lance, but you've got Sam Darnold in there, Bryce Young. Lord knows that the Carolina Panthers are going to move on from him. He just got his second consecutive win for the first time in his NFL career this past weekend against the Giants. Lord knows what's going on there. Anthony Richardson with the Indianapolis Colts. I hope they keep Anthony Richardson. Same with the Carolina Panthers, Bryce Young. I hope they keep Bryce Young, and I hope they keep Anthony Richardson and continue to try and develop them. I'm glad Anthony Richardson is back starting because he's got 10 career starts. He's got like 20 career starts, including high school and college. Like, he's very, very raw. So when you're shocked that he's raw, that's on you, bud. I can't really help you with that one. And Joe Flacco is not your answer because, Colts, I don't know what you think you're going to win here playing Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco does not give you a better chance to win as the people that have justified putting Joe Flacco in over Anthony Richardson. I agree the head tap was ridiculous. That was one of the craziest things I've ever seen in my life. But Joe Flacco does not give you a better chance to win at this point in time. If you're going to be average, which is what the Colts are with either Joe Flacco or Anthony Richardson, at least go with the younger guys so you know what you have at the position. Like, you got to know what you have at that spot. Then you've got teams with like older quarterbacks or like contract situations, like the Cleveland Browns with Deshaun Watson. Lord knows what they're going to do. Their cap hit for the next 2 years is insane. Then you've got a team like the LA Rams. Matt Stafford's getting older. The Jets with Aaron Rodgers, he's 41 years old. Do they try to find a successor in there? Because I promise you this, as much as I love the guy, Tyrod Taylor is not the future starting quarterback for the New York Jets. So there's going to be question marks over a bunch of different teams this offseason, the Giants being one. But the Giants we can kind of just nail down and say, yeah, they're going to draft a quarterback because they announced they're bringing back Dable and Shane. So if you're doing that, that means you're probably going to give them a chance to draft, quote-unquote, their guy. And the same goes for the Raiders. I mean, you got Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. You're going to draft a guy. And with how much Shedeur Sanders has been flirting with the Raiders, I have a very hard time believing that the Raiders, if he is available, would not draft Shedeur Sanders. I have a very hard time in believing that. Like, he's talked about the Raiders in podcasts. He's talked about Tom Brady. He's talked with Tom Brady on podcasts, who just so happens to be a minority shareholder in the Las Vegas Raiders. Like, there's so many freaking connections there. Like, it's nauseating at this point. But there's so many question marks from around the league that just leads you to so many different possibilities for the NFL draft. I saw a mock draft today that had 5 quarterbacks go in the top 10. Now, that's a little insane, if I do say so myself. Now, I could see someone potentially justifying like Jalen Milroe going to the top 10 because you can maybe see that ceiling. He's not fully developed as a passer yet, but he's extremely mobile, as we saw in this last game against LSU, and obviously talk about that here in a little bit. The running ability is there. The playmaking ability is there. It just needs to develop more as a passer. Like, he's got the really good deep ball, but that intermediate and short game is definitely something he needs to work at, as well as just seeing the entirety of the field. Those are two areas he desperately needs to work on, but that ceiling is there. That mobility and playmaking ability is there. He's the most electrifying person on the football field. I shouldn't say that, because he's not like Jaden Daniels or Lamar Jackson fast, but he's quick. And once he gets past the line of scrimmage, he does a really good job at reading blocks. Once he gets past the line of scrimmage, he takes one cut and boom, he's freaking gone. Like, I could see it justifying that, but right now, as I see things, as we stand here right now, the only quarterbacks that I think would be worthy of top 10 picks are Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. The Giants and the Raiders are two teams that I'm like guaranteed are going to draft a quarterback this year. Maybe not in the first round, but the second round at the latest, they're going to draft a quarterback. Because I can refuse to believe the Giants are going to go into a season next year with Daniel Jones and Drew Lock again, and I refuse to believe the Raiders are going to go into a season with Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew again. I refuse to believe that. You might believe that. You might think that's going to happen, and hey, it's the Giants and Raiders. Lord knows what's going to happen. I mean, the Giants drafted Daniel Jones 6th overall. Like, crazier things have happened here. So, hey, I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. But for this week's list, the reason I was the most excited, or one of the more excited times this year for this list, that every single quarterback in this list actually played this week, which is not something we could say last week, because last week's list, we only had 5 quarterbacks play. Only 5 of them. Like, it was a very lackadaisical week for quarterbacks in the 2025 NFL draft, at least for the top guys. Like, if you looked at the top 5 from last week, the only one in that top 5 that played was Cam Ward. Shedeur Sanders, Jalen Milroe, Garrett Nussmeier, and Quinn Ewers were all on bye weeks. And the other quarterbacks outside of the top 5 that played that day were Carson Beck, Drew Aller, Curtis Rourke, and Jackson Dart. Those were the rest of the quarterbacks that played that week. So it was not a lot of options in regards to what we're going to talk about. We still managed to stretch that bitch out to 30 minutes, though. We did a good job at doing that, didn't we? But this week's is fun. I'm excited for this week's list because we haven't had an opportunity this season that I can remember anyways where all 10 quarterbacks actually played. Where I filled out an entire blog post and went through reasonings for each and every quarterback in 1 week. There's been a couple weeks where, like, I've missed somebody, or I had a strict deadline to me, and I say strict deadline, a deadline that I created myself. That's not really that strict. But there's weeks I've missed looking at quarterbacks play, like especially earlier in the season. So I was trying to get my schedule all figured out in regards to when I could write, when I could record, when I could upload, and all that stuff. So there were some times I missed some lists along the way at the beginning of the season. But right now, we're in a freaking zone right now. This is back-to-back weeks where we have gotten every single quarterback taken care of. And I would say 3 weeks in a row, but I would need to go and check that myself. You can make sure to check out the blog post on the LoganBlackmanShow.com, and make sure to check out this week's blog post. There will be a link down in the description below. So I'd greatly appreciate if you go check that out, but you can also just go to the LoganBlackmanShow.com or go on the website and go into the blog section, or scroll down to the main page. There will be a link there for you as well. But without further ado, let's get into the honorable mentions section of the list. As always, we've got 5 names in alphabetical order by last name, and number 1 on this list is Dillon Gabriel. 23-34, 183, 3 tuds, no picks, and 28 yards on the ground, and a 39-18 win against Maryland. Oregon are just the Mr. Consistence in college football this year. Like, this is not the Oregon team of old that's going to absolutely blitz teams by 60 points. Like, that's not what this Oregon team does. But what they do is consistently score 30 points and consistently win games by 15 to 20, somewhere around that range. That's just what they do. Like, Dillon Gabriel doesn't necessarily do anything flashy, but he's effective as hell. And he just broke the career passing touchdown mark, so that's damn impressive. But just an easy game. The final score is 39-18. Again, they win by 15 to 20 points every single week. They score over 30 points every single week. I think prior to this week, I think the previous 3 games they played, they scored exactly 38 points. Like, they're one of the most consistent outfits in all of college football. That's just what they are. I don't know if they've gotten out of first gear really once, apart from the game against Ohio State. Apart from that, I don't know if they have done so. Like, it's just been super easy. Dillon Gabriel's been super effective. The receivers have been really good. Jordan James has been really good this year. Like, and the D-line for Oregon's obviously a big part of there as well, with Harmon on the defensive line. Like, they're just a very consistent team. And right now, things are looking up like they're going to go undefeated this year. And it's so weird to think about Oregon not having a national championship to their name. Out of all the times and out of all the years Oregon has been relevant in college football, it's always felt like they've been in and around the college football playoff or national championship conversation, and they've never won one. Like, hell, Iowa has a national championship. Like, Oregon doesn't have one. Iowa's my team, so I could talk about them. You can't, though. I can't. But Dillon Gabriel this year, 22 touchdowns, 5 picks on the season, 2,800 yards passing. 2 games ago, they play Wisconsin this weekend, or 2 or 3 games ago for Oregon. I know they play Wisconsin this week. They go to Madison to play at night. Raucous atmosphere, Camp Randall. Wisconsin's not a great team. They're not a bad team. They've beaten the teams they're supposed to beat, and they've lost heavily to teams they're supposed to lose to. They've established the run well, so who knows? Who knows? Crazier things have happened. I highly doubt it. This just has the makings of what I feel will be a 38-14 game. That's what this game kind of feels like. 35-14, 38-14. That's what this game kind of just feels like. That's what Oregon does. Next on this list is Will Howard. Kick-ass game against Purdue. And when I say kick-ass, they just kick the shit out of Purdue over and over and over again. 45-0 was the final score in this game. Will Howard, 260 through the air, 3 touchdowns with 7 yards on the ground, and a touchdown there as well. On the season, he has 22 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. He also has 6 rushing touchdowns. The touchdown and interception total, weirdly, is the exact same as Dillon Gabriel. The exact same. And I understand, like, the Heisman Trophy. I'm not saying, okay, I would like to clarify this before I say anything else. I do not think Will Howard should be a Heisman candidate. I do not think that. I think he's had a good season, but I don't think he should be in that Heisman conversation. I don't. But the numbers are pretty much the exact same as Dillon Gabriel's, and the only thing keeping Dillon Gabriel in the Heisman race versus Will Howard is because Will Howard didn't slide a half second earlier. That's why Will Howard's not in this conversation right now. Dillon Gabriel is the starting quarterback for the number 1 team in the nation, undefeated number 1 team in the nation. Yeah, so he's going to be in and around that conversation for the rest of the year, regardless if he actually deserves to be there. I'm not sitting here and saying he's been bad by any stretch of the imagination, but this has been one of the more lax Heisman seasons I can remember if he ends up winning the Heisman, because Will Howard statistically has to be in that conversation. I understand why he's not, and I don't think Dillon Gabriel should be in that conversation along with Will Howard. So that's just my opinion on the award. I think they're both really good quarterbacks, and they both end up on the honorable mentions list. Next one on here is Cade Klubnik. 3 tuds with 30 yards on the ground. He had 211 yards through the air with an interception and a 24-14 win against Virginia Tech on the road. Nice stats. Nice game. 24 touchdowns, 4 picks on the season, with also 300 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns on the season. He comes in there. Kyle McCord, next on this list, no interceptions. Big day for him. 2 touchdowns through the air, 392 passing yards in a 37-31 road loss to Boston College. Boston College getting off the snide with a win against Syracuse in that one. Kyle McCord, 23 touchdowns, 12 interceptions on the season. Second most touchdowns in this honorable mention section behind Cade Klubnik. And the next one on this list, I had to put him in there. Because we talked about him last week, and out of the quarterbacks that played this past week, because you can't really put an honorable mention section and have a quarterback that was on a bye. I mean, you can do that, but I didn't really want to. I wanted to throw him in there because we talked about him last week and because he played and there wasn't a lot of other great performances. But Malik Murphy from Duke, 245 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. He also had a rushing touchdown in the game, which if you went on Twitter after the game, the fact that he had a rushing touchdown was insane. That's obviously his only rushing touchdown of the season. He has negative 71 yards rushing this year. But he also has 2,300 passing yards, 22 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. Got good size, got a good arm, and Duke's playing pretty well right now. They're coming off a 29-19 win against NC State on the road. He's played well. I know we kind of joked about it last week, but he has played well. He's definitely number 15 on this list for ranking them 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, but I think he deserved an honorable mention section in there. And then coming in at number 10 on this list is a guy who just beat the shit out of a team that Duke beat a couple weeks ago, and that is Riley Leonard, coming off a game where he threw for 215 yards, had a touchdown in there, also 70 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns there as well, and a 52-3 demolition of Florida State. This thing is just so funny. The Florida State downfall is freaking hilarious because how much of a bitch fit they threw last year after not making the playoff. and then basically getting everybody out in the Orange Bowl and getting blasted by Georgia, who played pretty much everybody. I think, what was the final score? 62-3? You go 13-1 on the season. You lose a lot of key players, namely like Jordan Travis. You lost Keon Coleman. You lost 14. Well, Johnny Wilson, Jared Verse, Braden Fisk. Like, you lost a lot of very key players going into the season. Which I think even the season ranked number 9 or 10. We even said on the show, like, hey, that's a little crazy. Do you not know how many key players they lost this year? Now, that being said, I'll take credit for not thinking they were very good, but I won't take credit for thinking that they'd be this bad. I did not ever in my wildest dreams think that Florida State would come out after finishing 13-1 a year ago, this year going, 1-9? And getting ass blasted every single week. Like, their only win's a 5-point win against Cal at home. She made Cal travel from Berkeley, California, all the way down to Tallahassee, Florida. Shocking that you came away with a dub there. But a 5-point, it was like 14-9 or something like that. And Notre Dame just absolutely had their way with them in this game. And Riley Leonard put up a highlight on Notre Dame's first drive of the game. He had a nice little dump off pass to Williams out of the backfield for 28 yards on 3rd and 6. And then he picked up 34 yards on the ground, coming away with a touchdown while leaping over a couple defenders en route to scoring a touchdown. It wasn't like a Josh Allen-esque hurdle or anything. It was kind of like C.J. Beathard hurling the line, I think, against Indiana a couple years ago. Or Drake May against... I always get the game confused. Drake May against NC State or Duke like a year or two ago. More similar to that than an actual hurdle. It's more like a dive over people. But still, impressive stuff. That's what you love to see. That's the kind of thing Riley Leonard brings to the table from the quarterback. He has 609 rushing yards this year. 609 rushing yards with 13 touchdowns on the year as well. The dude's just a freak athlete. He's still got some room to grow as a passer. This is far from his best game as a passer. He went 14 of 27 in this game, but he made he made a couple decent throws throughout the course of this game. You got the 12-yard touchdown to Mitchell Evans, a very good fade ball to the corner of the end zone. He also got a ball down the sideline to Jaden Harrison, but the play didn't pop up on ESPN when I was going through the box score because he got called. There was a roughing the passer call in there, but it was a great back shoulder ball down the far sideline. Like the back shoulder throws, if you know me, you know how much I love a good back shoulder throw. And then he also had the ball to Greathouse in the fourth quarter to get them down to the 1 yard line, 26 yards. He checked into this play and faded it over the top of the defender with Greathouse making a great catch over the defender. And I believe that was his last drive of the game. Pretty much it was 38-3 was the last thing he went with 11 minutes to go in the fourth. And then he sat out the rest of the game, and Notre Dame saw it a 52-3 win. Just a very easy game. Again, it wasn't a perfect game from Riley Leonard, but there was a lot of the things that you like from him as a prospect in display in this game. The running ability is the main factor in there. Again, 70 yards on the ground. And that 34-yard touchdown is the one thing everybody's going to point to. But I really like the back shoulder throw that he threw on down the far sideline. I really like the fade route he threw to Mitchell Evans. I like the Greathouse throw, especially since he checked into that. It might not be like a statistical marvel to look at this game and go, 14-27, and not great. And yeah, he missed some throws in this game. I will acknowledge that. He did miss some throws in this game, but there's a lot to build on in performances like this. Notre Dame didn't play with their food as a team. They came out, beat the shit out of Florida State, and now they're going into this week. They're taking on Virginia. A Virginia team just beat Pitt this past weekend. They're not a great defensive team, so I don't know if Notre Dame will have too many problems moving the ball on the opposite side of the ball, but we'll have to wait and see. But Riley Leonard comes in at number 10. Number 9 is Jackson Dart. We moved him down one spot. We flipped him with Curtis Rourke, who comes in at number 8. We'll talk about Curtis Rourke here in a little bit. This game, if you watched games down south this weekend, they were just muddy messes. Rainy, muddy messes. And Jackson Dart in the first drive of the game gets rolled up on, and then a play later throws an interception. And the interception, it's not the most egregious thing in the world. He gets his arm hit when the ball when he's starting to let the ball go. Ball pops up on him and it lands in the grateful arms of Georgia safety. Just not an ideal situation, but it wasn't he was stepped back in the pocket, he had a clean pocket and everything, and he just drilled the defender right in the freaking chest with the ball. That's not what happened. It was not an ideal situation, and coupling that with the injury, he probably wasn't feeling the greatest about himself at that moment in time, and he had to sit out for a drive. But he did come back, almost did score on the drive that he was out, but he did come back in the game. And yeah, he made some big plays. Like they were down at their own 1 yard line or 2 yard line or something like that. And he hit Jordan Watkins for 16 yards on 3rd and 10. And then the very next play hits Jordan Watkins again, which the pair have been absolutely in sync these past 2 weeks. They had the 5-touchdown game last week. Jackson Dart had 6 touchdowns, but the pair had 5 touchdowns. And this week, Jordan Watkins, he had the 16-yard pass there, 33 yards on the very next play to get them down to the 50-yard line. Like, you go from the 1 yard line and now we're down to the 50 like that. That's the quickness this Ole Miss offense can work with. And the throw was really solid. Really solid throw. There was some confusion, it looked like, from the Georgia secondary, and Jackson Dart took advantage of that. There was a defender running down his face, and he got the ball off to Jordan Watkins, who made a very nice play on the ball. And then you look at his touchdown pass here a few plays later in the third quarter. Sorry, got a little bit ahead of myself there. But he hits Antoine Wells in the back of the end zone from 10 yards out, and it's a really great throw. Really great throw. And also great catch from Antoine Wells as well. Bar, question mark, with the defender in his face pretty much and a hand in there. Just a great concentration to reel the ball in. I'm pretty sure, I don't have the exact angle of it, but I'm pretty sure he bobbled it while he was going in the end zone. So great job at bobbling it, recovering it, and then coming down with a foot inbounds to score a touchdown. Just a very good throw from Dart, especially throwing over to the defender's inside shoulder. That's what you like to see. Those are the types of throw Jackson Dart can make. And he also had a 28-yard ground game later in the game as well in the fourth quarter. Pocket breaks down around him. He breaks a few ankle tackles in there and gets 20 yards down the sideline. On a bum ankle, that's pretty damn impressive. And Jackson Dart, not necessarily like like we brought up with Jalen Milroe earlier, he's not like a Lamar Jackson, Michael Vick, Jane Daniels type player. And say Jackson Dart's nowhere even near that, but he is effective when asked to run the ball. You saw that last week against Arkansas. He made some big plays on the ground there as well. Also had the wherewithal to flip the ball in his hands as well. Flip it from the right side to the left side when he started to creep towards the left sideline. That's impressive stuff. Middle school coaches, very proud. But yeah, Jackson Dart played a solid game. Just a muddy mess. I feel kind of bad for dropping him down because he was playing hurt. It was raining the entire game. He had 190 yards passing, a touchdown, a pick. With also 50 yards on the ground, a 20-10 win against Georgia. We'll talk about their quarterback in a little bit, but number 8 on this list is Curtis Rourke. 206 passing, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. The pick was not great. Not ideal. Not ideal at all. That's the first play of the second half for Indiana. Very first play of the second half. And Curtis Rourke just got baited into it. Just absolutely got baited into it. They brought a receiver across the formation. They thought that they were going to play a little bit more. They thought the outside corner was going to follow the receiver that went across the formation, as one usually does. They like to stick with the receiver. Instead, he flips back to the inside and runs on the hitch route that Curtis Rourke thinks is going to be open. Defender reads it like a freaking book, jumps the route, picks it off. Like, it's just not it just got baited into it. It's not, because the ball came out quick. It's not like Curtis Rourke held on the ball too long and he was late on the throw. No, he got the ball out quick. He just got absolutely baited into making a throw. He thought the defender would be somewhere else, and he wasn't. Jumped the route, picked it off. Defense came up big and held Michigan to a field goal. Like, that's what I was going to say that's what you want to see, but it's not what you want to see. But it's nice that your defense is able to back you up in that situation, especially with how Michigan can run the ball down there in the red zone. And yeah, but apart from that, Curtis Rourke had himself a very good game, especially in the first half. 17-3 at halftime. I thought it was going to be a rout, if I'm going to be 100% honest with you. Like, Curtis Rourke had a ball down the near side of the Keyshawn Williams for a 26-yard gain. I would implore you all to go and watch that throw. It's a damn impressive throw. It is a damn impressive throw. That's what I love to see. You also got Omar Cooper hitting him on an out route down towards the end zone. A nice little, 7-yard touchdown pass. Putting it in a spot where only his receiver can get it. He hits Elijah Surratt while the defender is coming right in his face. It's Mason Graham. Scary-ass dude. One of the top players in the draft. Going right at him. And he's still able to deliver a strike down the field. Elijah Surratt was open, so all he had to do was not miss him. And not only did he not miss him, he hit him in stride, which is what we love to see. That's what we love to see. Quarterback not being afraid to take a hit. He also had that a little bit later to Omar Cooper again. This time he wasn't getting hit, and he didn't duck away from it like he did on the Mason Graham play, but a defender ran up to him, arm in his face and everything, defender coming from the backside as well, and he still was able to deliver a strike to Omar Cooper for the big gain. Nice little 41-yard gain from Rourke to Cooper, and just allowing him to get open, staying calm in the pocket, knowing that the pocket's slowly collapsing around you, swallowing you whole. He's still able to stay calm and deliver an absolute strike to his receiver for the big gain. And then the interception happened in the second half that was just not Not great. Not great. He had a ball to Elijah Surratt at the end. Curtis Warwick, we've talked about this before, is one of the best back shoulder throwers in all of college football. Might be the best back shoulder thrower in all of college football. He hit back Elijah Surratt down the far sideline. Great ball. Great back shoulder ball, but Surratt's not able to come down with it, and he ends up dropping it. But thankfully, Indiana came in with a field goal. But still, great throw. It always sucks when, good throws like that fall incomplete. Because that's why I always get, completion percentage is not necessarily a fair representation of actual accuracy, because that ball goes against his completion percentage. That ball was deadly accurate to Elijah Surratt. That would have got them down to the 2-3 yard line. But he dropped it, so that goes against his completion percentage. But if you didn't watch that throw and you saw the completion percentage and you're like, that was a bad throw, or that, this was an incomplete pass, all you know is that it was caught or not. Don't know where the ball was placed, don't know what the window was, don't know if the receiver just flat out dropped it. You also don't know if he just skied it through the air. There's so much not there in regards to looking at the statistic of accuracy in regards to completion percentage, and that's one of the cases right there. But Curtis Warwick, I thought he made some really big throws. Really big throws. And Michigan might not be the same Michigan that they were a year ago, but hey, he still made some very, very good throws throughout the course of the game. The interception wasn't great, no. But the 2 touchdowns were really good. The throw to Williams down the near sideline was perfect in literally every sense of the word. I thought Curtis Warwick played a great game, and I almost moved him up one more spot. I'm not going to lie. But number 7 on this list is Carson Beck. The downfall needs to be studied because he is playing not great at this point in time. I wouldn't say this game was on par with, the 3 interception game against Texas or the game against Florida, but it was not great. It wasn't great. A lot of the balls that he threw were shorter passes. I don't know if they actually trust him to push the ball down the field. I really don't. And at this point in time, I don't know if I don't really blame them for not doing that. He's not able to read the defenses. He's getting I don't want to go as far and say he sees ghosts or whatever, but he's not seeing anything. I don't know what's going on there. And he had an interception in this game as well. It's just, and the interception came as a tip pass. Maybe the ball is a touchdown. Maybe it is. Maybe if he's able to get the ball to his receiver can cut up field, catch the ball, cut up field, and score a touchdown. Maybe that's possible, but we don't know because the ball got intercepted. He did have a couple good throws in this game. He had to throw to Lucky Lawson on 1st and 10 in the second quarter of the game between 3 Ole Miss defenders. Put a ball really nicely. It was only a 10-yard pass, but still. Nice. You got to be that's kind of the throws that are the hardest to make. Are those short throws where the windows are tighter. That's why throwing down the red zone is so important, and being accurate in the red zone is so important because the windows are so small because the field's compact. Those shorter throws in tight windows are very, very impressive. Now, that being said, Beck did hit Dominic Lovett with a hand in his face for 20 yards. That was an impressive throw from him across the middle, but overall it just was the very... Again, the rain did not help anything, but Beck just did not have a great game. He did not have a great game. It's just been a really rough go of things as of late, especially on the road in the SEC. He just hasn't been able to operate fully on the road. Because you look at the game against Kentucky, he had no touchdowns, no interceptions. Yeah, the no interceptions is fine, but no touchdowns. A 13-12 win there. Look at the Alabama game. He had 3 interceptions in that game. You look at the Texas game, 3 interceptions in that game. And in this game, he had an interception, no touchdowns here. The road games in the SEC have not been kind to Carson Beck up to this point in the season. And it sucks because he was talked about as the number 1 prospect in the draft, at least from the quarterback perspective. It was him and Shedeur Sanders, and that was pretty much it. No one really cared about everybody else. These are the top 2 guys. Everybody else can kind of just file in afterwards. And Beck just keeps falling and falling. He has 17 touchdowns, 12 picks on the season. And I don't know when that's going to get better. They're playing Tennessee this weekend. And Tennessee's not the most, I don't even know what you want to call it. They're not the most intimidating team in college football right now, but they're no pushovers either. I mean, they're the 7th ranked team in the country. It's not going to be an easy game. Yes, it's back in Athens, but Lord knows what Carson Beck's going to show up. It's just going to, I don't know, but Carson Beck comes in at number 7, sorry. Number 6 is Drew Aller from Penn State. He moved up 1 spot. I actually thought Drew Aller played really well. I think last week against Ohio State, if you just looked at the statistics of the game, I think 12 for 20, 146 or something like that with no touchdowns to the pick. If you just looked at that and the box score, you would go, oh, Drew Aller sucked complete ass in this game. But in reality, he didn't. Drew Aller, I thought, played all right given the circumstances. I thought he was able to make some big throws in the game. The interception was very unfortunate. The fact that they weren't able to get the ball across the goal line on 2 red zone trips or 2 drives that ended both halves of the 1 yard line, like that's not necessarily the most ideal situation to be in, but I don't think he played as bad as the box score suggested. This game, he went 20 of 28, 220 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks in this game, and he made some big throws. He made some very, very big throws in this game, and this one just had all day to do whatever. Like, apart from a missed field goal and a fumble by Tyler Warren, which, if you want to call it a fumble or an incomplete pass, doesn't matter to me at this point. Apart from those two, Penn State put together really long drives, really long scoring drives, really long scoring touchdown drives in this game. They pretty much just did whatever. Like, and Drew Aller was just cooking. Like, Aller and Wallace, they connected for 19 yards to get on the 50, near the 50-yard line, I should say. And he just had all day to do it. And you could see his head moving around to his different reads and stuff like that. Hits Wallace right after his break, which is what you want in those types of situations. He also connected Wallace for 12 yards again later in the drive where he was able to break outside the pocket, roll it to his left, and deliver a nice strike right past the first down marker for a 12-yard gain to Wallace. Like, he's not necessarily the most fleet-footed guy in the world, but he's able to make plays when asked upon. That's maybe not like pick up massive gains on the ground or anything, but he can make plays outside the pocket and deliver throws on the run. I think that's one of the areas of his game that's vastly improved from a season before. But that incomplete pass fumble to Tyler Warren, that was a really great ball. Like, he threw it between two or three Washington defenders and put it right on Tyler Warren with an opportunity to make a play up the field, because if he throws it a little bit more inside or leads Warren a little too much and the ball gets intercepted. And now you could sit here and go, like, well, he fumbled the ball anyway, so it was a turnover regardless. But still, great throw from Drew Aller. That's what we like to see. He would connect with Trey Wallace again for 28 yards on 3rd and 3, hitting between a few Washington defenders again. Like, just finding those holes in the defense. And he would have another chance where he's rolled out to his right, escaping pressure, tries to hit Tyler Warren for a pass, but just Warren's not able to bring it up. But great effort by Warren to try and get over there to come up with the pass in the first place. But yeah, I thought Drew Aller played a really good game. He had a nice little seam route to Liam Clifford as well, which has been a pass that's been there more often than not to this point in the season, those little seam routes to Liam Clifford from the slot. But yeah, I thought Aller played good. I thought it was a nice bounce back performance statistically from the game against Ohio State. And they just literally had their way with Washington. They provided little to no threat throughout the entire course of the game. And Penn State was able to take advantage of that. And Drew Aller, 1 touchdown in the game as well. Came on a little slant route. Wasn't anything like otherworldly or anything. But hey, all touchdowns count the same, right? I thought his throws throughout the course of the game in the middle of the field and stuff like that were very good. I thought his ability to get outside the pocket and hit throws in the run, I thought those were very impressive as well. Like, again, I just thought he played well. I thought it was a good game. They play Purdue this week, so I expect his numbers to continue to go up. So we'll have to see. It's on the road, but didn't really fear for Penn State's life in that one. And then number 5, Quinn Ewers, 5 touchdowns in this game, 333 yards through the air, and a 49-17 win over Florida. This was just so easy. That's the best way I could say it. Like, Texas just worked the ball down the field. They ran a bunch of misdirection plays, and there wasn't like needed Ewers to make like some insane throws or anything. Like, he had one of his touchdown passes to Gunnar Helm. I thought he did a very good job at pulling it from the running back once the linebacker crashed down, got it out really quick. Quinn Ewers got one of the quickest releases in all of college football. I've raised questions about his arm strength, but the quick release that he has is very impressive. It was on display in that one. He had a touchdown later in the game as well to Matthew Golden for a 32-yard score. Like, it was just an easy game. A lot of screen passes in this game, a lot of shorter passes, a lot of misdirections from Texas in the backfield. Like, as easy as a game in conference play in the SEC as you like, and not name Vanderbilt. If you would have told me before the year started that Texas would have a harder time against Vanderbilt than they would Florida, I would have probably called you a little crazy just by the two brands themselves. But Ewers, not really a ton to write home about, if I'm being 100% honest. Yes, the stats are there. 333 yards, 5 touchdowns is damn impressive. Those are damn good numbers. I think it was like a Texas school record for touchdowns in the game and stuff like that. Like, he's put forth, that was a really good game. Really good game from him. But again, just a lot of shorter passes, a lot of underneath routes, a lot of screen passes, a lot of misdirection. But the pass to Gunnar Helm, that was a great pass. That was a great pass. But again, he just wasn't asked to do that. So I'm not going to hold it against him. But I'm not going to sit here and act like it was one of the greatest performances of all time. Number 4 on this list is Garrett Nussmeier. And number 3 is Jalen Milroe. For those of you who couldn't tell. This game, LSU versus Alabama, this was just a shit show. And what I mean by that, when the rain started coming, Alabama was winning this game by 40. Every single time. Once the rain kicked in, and as hard as it did kick in, then yeah, Alabama was trouncing LSU in this game. Because the main factor in this game, Alabama has two backs that average over 5.5 yards a carry, or at least 5 yards a carry. Not to mention they have frickin' Jalen Milroe outside the military schools, the most mobile, electrifying quarterback in college football. Like, he has 16 rushing touchdowns of the season. 4 of them came in this game. He had 185 yards on the ground. LSU, by proxy, has the worst rushing attack in the conference. So, with the ball being wet and the rain coming down like it is, if your defense can't stop anything and you can't run the ball, guess what? You're probably not going to win this game. Probably not. And they had chances in this game. Once the second half kicked in, then it was pretty much over. I think it was like 21-6 at halftime. LSU kind of went in that locker room with their tail between their legs kind of thing. But Garrett Nussmeier, I don't think played like horrifically bad. I thought he made some good throws throughout the game. I don't think he was like horrific. The 2 interceptions weren't great. I will hold my hands up with that one. The interceptions weren't great. The first one coming on the red zone, basically just tried to zip it to the back of the end zone to his receiver. Defender didn't get pushed off his position too much by Lacey. I think that's what he was expecting. And he just threw it right to the defender. Right to the defender. And the second one, the receiver fell over. I don't know if it was going to be caught by the receiver if he fell over or not. But regardless, the fallen receiver ends up in the hands of the defender. Yeah, just 2 not ideal interceptions to throw. But I thought, like, Nussmeier had some good throws through the game. His touchdown throw later in the game was very good. Very good back shoulder throw. I think it was to Lacey, but later in the game, like way later, like 13 seconds left of the game later. But I still thought it was a very good throw. I thought his throw to Mason Taylor to kind of kick things off for LSU was a very good throw as well early in the second quarter. Like, deep in their own territory, he's able to fit the ball to Mason Taylor between 3 or 4 Alabama defenders and pick up a first down. Like, that's what you want to see. You also hit C.J. Daniels down the far sideline for a 14-yard gain. Receiver coming across the formation, he's able to drill a ball, or not drill a ball, but float a ball into C.J. Daniels down the sideline. Then he got in the third, early on in the third quarter, he's able to flash the athleticism, which is not something Garrett Nussmeier is really known for. He's able to get outside, pick up a first down, pick up 14 yards on the ground, get a 1st and 10 when it's 3rd and 4. That's what you want. You want to show some ability as a quarterback. You don't want to be a freaking meat statue in the pocket. That's not what you want. That's not what no team wants either. So they want to see you show at least some mobility in there. And Garrett Nussmeier not be the most mobile guy of all time, most athletic quarterback out there. But hey, when he needs to, he can be effective. He had I think like a 20-yard run against Ole Miss a couple weeks ago, deep in their own territory. Like, he can make runs, but it's not something that happens very often. It's not something that happens very often. He also had a really good throw out to his left, hit Kyron Lacey down the sideline. Lacey slipped around the 4 or 5 yard line, but rolling out to his left, he got his shoulder slip, delivered a strike to Lacey there. Interception came a play later, which is not a great interception, but the touchdown again to Kyron Lacey, 12 yards out, back shoulder, 11 seconds left, not 13 seconds left. It was a good throw. I thought Nussmeier made some good throws throughout the game. I'm not going to sit here and act like he was perfect, but he definitely wasn't horrific in this game. Like, he completed more passes in this game than he had in some of the previous games. It was pouring rain throughout the entirety of this game. Like, just not an ideal situation to be in, but I don't think it was like the worst performance of all time. But he comes in at number 4 in this one. And number 3 again, Jalen Milroe, 185 yards on the ground, 4 touchdowns. He also had 109 yards through the air. No touchdowns, but no interceptions there as well. His best pass in the game to me was when he hit Ryan Williams down the far sideline for 19 yards. Sorry, on 2nd and 14. The snap was really wonky. He had to go down and get in. He had to get outside the pocket because the 2 LSU defenders were giving chase pretty much right when he got his head up after he recovered the snap. But other than that, it was just him dominating on the run. That was pretty much it. Like, he had a 72-yard run in there. He had a 19-yard touchdown run in there. He had a 39-yard touchdown run in there. Like, he just ate on the ground. LSU just had no answers for it. Like I said, when the game got muddy and rainy, not really muddy, but when it got rainy as much as it did, the game flipped. LSU was not going to compete in that game. I don't care how much of a diehard LSU fan you are, and you're like, oh, well, we haven't lost 14 games at home at night under Brian Kelly. I don't care. You have the worst rushing attack in the conference. facing the best rushing attack in the conference with the best running quarterback in college football apart from the military schools. Like outside the military schools, it's him and Riley Leonard for the big college quarterbacks, for the Power 4 college quarterbacks. I'm sure there's some like CUSA quarterback that's really mobile that I just have no idea who they are. But yeah, Jalen Milroe, nothing like passing wise, nothing spectacular. Running the ball, he had his way. I mean, 12 carries, 185 yards rushing. He just had his way with LSU's defense. Number 2 on this list is still Shedeur Sanders. Good game against Texas Tech. 3 touchdowns, 291 through the air. Also had a rushing touchdown in there. Nice little pull. Deion crashed, pulled it around, 7-yard touchdown run or something like that. But I love what Colorado is doing right now because they had all the hype in the world last year, and they stunk. At this point in the season, they were 4-8, had lost, I think, their last 6 games or 5 of the last 6 games or something, and they had 1 conference win. This is their 3rd straight conference win, coming at home or coming on the road against a team that just beat Iowa State last week, or 2 weeks, the previous week, from where this game was. And Colorado was down 13-0. But the difference between this Colorado team and the Colorado team of last year is that they actually have fight. Look at the game against Kansas State. Sure, they might have lost that game. But hey, guess what? They were able to claw their way back into the game. They were down 24-14. Like, they were down in that game, and they were able to come back 21-7 or something like that, too. Came back. They lost 31-28, but still, that's the type of performance you'd like to see from Colorado, which is nothing that we didn't expect to see at the beginning of the season. And Shedeur Sanders, kind of like Quinn Ewers, didn't really hit a lot of deep balls in this game. A lot of the passes that Colorado ran were a lot of bubble screens. And the bubble screens were effective. If the defense is giving you bubble screens, LeJonte Wester is going to get 50 yards per reception on a bubble screen, then yeah, hell yeah, I'm going to do that. Like, there were back-to-back plays. One of his touchdowns, he had a bubble screen to, I think, Wester on the near sideline. The next play, hit a screen pass to Travis Hunter and took it into the end zone. Like, it was just super easy. Like, he didn't really need to throw the ball deep down the field. And when he did it. Like, hit LeJonte Wester for 16 yards down the middle on 2nd and 12. Like, in the start of the third quarter, between 2 Texas Tech defenders, got him down outside of they're at their own 23-yard, and they got a little bit close to the 50. And he had a really, really good fade ball to Will Sheppard as well. Will Sheppard, credit to him as well for bringing it with one hand, but Shedeur Sanders, beautiful fade route. Beautiful fade ball. Beautiful throw across the middle to LeJonte Wester between 2 Texas Tech defenders. But apart from that, a lot of screen passes, which is fair. And so you look at the completion percentage, 30 of 43. A lot of those completions were shorter passes or dump offs and stuff like that. When you don't have a running attack, I guess this is your default running game. Is just dumping it off to the sidelines, getting outside, throw a little screen pass. That's Colorado's rush attack, pretty much. That's what it is. If you watch Colorado, they run a lot of those screen plays, a lot of bubble screen stuff like that. But that's not to take away anything from Shedeur Sanders because he can make those big-time throws when asked upon. We brought the 2 plays in there as well. But yeah, good game from Sanders. He comes in number 2. Number 1's Cam Ward. Again, his first touchdown of the game to Elijah Arroyo in their second play from scrimmage is beautiful. Elijah Arroyo is barely running down the field, and Cam Ward just drills him right in the number before he's even ready for the pass. Like, it's kind of weird to watch live. Like, the slant came in, and you thought the slant was going to get the ball, and then guess what? Elijah Arroyo's sprinting down the field now for an easy 72-yard touchdown. Like, Cam Ward, again, beautiful out route. Or, like, out corner route, whatever you want to call it. 14-yard gain to Sam Brown Jr., great throw. Far hash near sideline. 14 yards down the field. That's not an easy throw. And he did it like the 2 plays later. This time to Xavier Restrepo for 21 yards. Near hash far sideline. Pretty much exact same thing. Like, that's not an easy throw. Those are big time throws. He hit another slant route to Isaiah Horton. I almost forgot who it was. He hit another slant route to there. Kind of a similar-ish play to when Elijah Arroyo's touchdown reception. He also hit Horton or Xavier Restrepo. No. Horton was the fade route. And Cam Ward had to get this ball out pretty quick, so the edge rusher came in quick from the right side, and he's throwing back to the left side. Just a great fade ball to Horton in the end zone. He did have a 38-yard touchdown to Restrepo as well, rolled up to the left a little bit. Nice little, it didn't look like he really put anything on it, but Restrepo was wide open, just carried in the end zone. But the play that I want to talk about is the fumble, because Cam Ward, his biggest issue is trying to do too much. Hero ball. That's the thing that got him in trouble at times at Washington State. It's sometimes gotten him in trouble here. You talk about those Interceptions were thrown across his body. You got the one against Cal. You got the one against Duke. This time you got the fumble. You could take the short route to Elijah Arroyo. You could throw the ball out of bounds, but he's trying to push the ball down the field because they're losing. It's 28-23 at that point, and he's trying to make something downfield, trying to find something downfield, but there's nothing open. So just take what the defense gives you and fight to live another play. Like, throwing it out of bounds, like, yeah, you're like, well, I could have made a play down the field. But guess what? You didn't because you fumbled. So you might as well have just tried to throw the ball out of bounds. Like, that's something that definitely going to need to get worked out on. Like, I was screaming at the TV watching it live, just saying, throw the ball away. Throw to Arroyo. Throw the ball away. Arroyo's standing like 5 yards past the line of scrimmage. Like, just dump it off to him. Like, that's just a very unfortunate situation to be in. Miami with their first loss this season. It doesn't surprise me they lost. I mean, you play with fire too many times, you're going to get burned. Like, you're sitting there like, Miami constantly finds themselves down in games, sometimes by double digits, and they constantly claw their way back because they got talent on the opposite side of the ball, but that's not sustainable. It's not. You're on the road this week against Georgia Tech, and they take advantage of that. You get down by double digits, guess what? You're not able to claw your way back. Now you lose. Now you get burned type of thing. So it's unfortunate that it happened, but it was bound to happen. They got a bye week this week, so we'll see how they're able to rectify things going into the next week, but the bye will hopefully ease some of the pain from the loss to Georgia Tech. But that is your top 10 quarterbacks from week 11. Real quick, let's run it down again. The other honorable mentions were Dylan Gabriel, Will Howard, Cade Klubnik, Kyle McCord, and Malik Murphy. Number 10 on this list is Riley Leonard. Riley Leonard and Notre Dame will be taking on Virginia. Number 9 is Jackson Dart and Ole Miss. They are on a bye week this week. Curtis Rourke comes in at number 8. Indiana is also on a bye. They got Ohio State next week, which is going to be fun as hell. Carson Beck comes in at number 7. Georgia takes on Tennessee this weekend in Athens. Number 6, Drew Aller. Him and Penn State take on Purdue in West Lafayette. Number 5, Quinn Ewers. Him and Texas take on Arkansas, which, given Arkansas's corner situation, the secondary situation, given what Jackson Dart did a couple weeks ago, I expect Quinn Ewers to put up very good numbers in this game. Number 4, we have Garrett Nussmeier and LSU. They're going to Florida to take on the Gators. Hopefully that's a nice little bounce-back game for the Tigers because they have been struggling these past couple weeks. Then you got Alabama. Jalen Milroe comes in number 3. They're taking on Mercer. Mercer's 9-1. They're 9-1 in the season, so maybe they could cause some problems. Doubt it. But hey, anything can happen, right? Shedeur Sanders comes in number 2. Him and Colorado taking on Utah. Number 1, as we said, Cam Ward, and him and Miami will be on a bye. I hope you enjoyed this weekend's college football, or the draft experts, week 11 quarterback prosperings. I hope you enjoyed. If you didn't, I sincerely apologize. I'll try to be better next time. Make sure to check out the blog post. They're down in the description below. Make sure to check out all the social media links as well down there. And make sure to follow the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. I've, of course, been Logan Blackman. I will see you guys later. Peace.